Well, time is 10 minutes past 11 a.m. on a Thursday, 24th February 2022. Now, just about a matter of 1 minute, and that wish number of 1111 comes on before us. And so, why not to wish for much more? Why not to bring about a set of thought leaders who wished and now we're expanding? Well, tech led women leaders. And they're bringing in together, shaping a better tomorrow. And I bet you, better tomorrow in all attributes possible. I'm very happy to welcome a set of panelists and, of course, the orator, moderator for the session. First, please welcome our panelist, co-founder, MD and Chairperson, Portea Medical, Meena Ganesh with us. Meena, welcome again. Joining her is going to be co-founder and COO Yatra Online Private Limited, Sabina Chopra. Joining the two is going to be Meghna Suryakumar, founder and CEO of Crediwatch. Joining the third is Ankiti Bose, CEO and co-founder Zilingo. And of course, joining is CEO and founder Perx Technologies is Anna Gong. And to moderate the session, to bring about what is tomorrow, is the partner Deloitte India, Karishma Gupta. Karishma, over to you.
Thank you so much, Matan. Hello, everyone, and hope you are doing well. It gives me an immense pleasure to have you all at this summit and to be moderating the session on tech leaders together, shaping a better tomorrow. I was just reading some of the statistics yesterday, and I realized that per UNESCO, only 35% of STEM students in higher education globally are women, and only about 28% of them are in STEM workforce. And most of them, if we look at the percentage-wise split, are into biotechnology or biomedicine or medicine per se. For any innovations to be successful or the problems to have a balanced solution approach, the workforce needs to be adequately represented. And they should be representing the 50% of the population. To shape a better tomorrow, we need to encourage and empower the girl students to pursue STEM. We need to provide mentorship, role models, and flexibility to young women workforce, and to create equal opportunities for progression at mid-career stages and early career stages. In addition, we actually need to work actively to remove roadblocks, our unconscious bias, and provide the safe environment for them to be successful. In addition, one of the top things that BCG or any other survey calls out is that we need role models and inspiring women. And I couldn't be luckier or more fortunate to moderate this session with such an esteemed panel. So please join me in welcoming this panel, and let's get started. So I'll start with Meghna. Hi, Meghna. You are a lawyer, a corporate lawyer who turned business leader and founded Crediwatch, an industry-defining AI and machine learning powered fintech and data science company. What made you shift your career in from law firm to creating your own tech-based company?
Yeah. Hi, Karishma, and hi, everyone. It's been a very interesting journey from being an international corporate attorney to starting an AI-based tech company, providing cutting-edge technology to the banking sector in India. In fact, a lot of things that I did in my career as an international attorney actually led me to where I am today. So, about a decade and a half ago, I went to Columbia University, and then I worked in the Silicon Valley, where I got the opportunity to represent some of the largest tech companies in the world. And, being exposed to that kind of gave me a different perspective of understanding how these businesses run. After which I started my own law firm out of my apartment in New York, which kind of grew to be a transactional practice with offices in India and the US. And at that point in time, when I started looking at different ways to support my customers, especially who had a global footprint, I started experimenting on small technology solutions which would enable my own practice, which would make my customers' lives better, right? And that's kind of when I kind of discovered that, when we're doing M&A due diligence, we can look at a lot of digital forms of alternative data to assess risk. And when I saw the kind of data that was available in India from a public domain, I realized that I'm actually staring at a much larger problem, right? We have like fintech, which was exploding in India, and this data can be used by multiple industries. The analytics can help multiple industries. So that's kind of what led me to to, start Crediwatch along with my co-founder, Sandeep, because we kind of believed that the kind of alternative data and using AI to get very good analytics and assessments out of it could actually revolutionize the fintech industry. Because in India, we have 60 million small businesses and only 15% of them have access to credit. And the top 5 rating agencies in India have rated 50,000 businesses collectively together only today. And 96% of the companies don't have a rating. And there is a huge gap which can be filled where we can support the fintech industry with better quality scores and analytics to price risk when they're issuing credit to thin file customers. So that's kind of why we started Crediwatch.
Thank you so much, Meghna. Meeta, likewise, you've been an entrepreneur, a serial entrepreneur, if I may call it, and a board member across the diverse range of industries and companies, besides having an illustrious corporate career, if you may, right? What made you successful across such a wide span? And what is it that you believe was the reason for being successful in such a wide variety of, career and companies?
Thank you, Karishma, and thanks for the rest of you. It's a pleasure to be here as a part of this show. Just a couple of clarifications. My name is Meena, and my company's name is Portea, and I would appreciate people pronouncing it as such. Obviously, brand is something that we are very particular about. So, talking a little bit about my own journey, I started my first startup in the year 2000. Prior to that, I had been in the corporate sector, worked in Pricewaterhouse, Microsoft, with NIIT. So when I was in Microsoft, I had a lot of interaction with the many software developers, and as the head of the unit, which was working with software developers and convincing them to use the Microsoft platform, I realized that there are a lot of small entrepreneurs, small companies who've done exceedingly well. And frankly, I had it in me to be an entrepreneur myself. But that said, I realized that getting into the space of creating yet another IT company or IT offshoring or IT product, I neither had the interest nor a specific product or a problem that I was trying to solve. And that's when I came across the whole shift towards outsourcing and offshoring of business processes and call centers. And that's how the first company of mine, Customer Asset, came into being in the year 2000, which I sold and to ICICI, and then joined Tesco, which is UK's largest retailer, and set up their back office and their entire IT unit in India in Bangalore. While I was doing that, the startup bug bit me again, and I joined Tutor Vista, which is online, which was at that point in time an online tutoring company. That was the area that we were focusing on. I joined them as a co-founder. But what was important for me is to realize that while that model worked globally, and I joined them to see what we could build in the Indian context. So that was the first time I started to really understand the Indian context in terms of building a business for India, building a business which would be meaningful, sustainable in the Indian context. And that really set me on a different journey altogether. The first business, Tutor Vista, Customer Asset, was a B2B offshore business. But after Tutor Vista, I moved into serving the Indian market with technology in the education space. And we sold that company to Pearson. And in 2011, I started to look at what are the problems that are to be solved in India. So basically what it all transpired is to find problem statements that are big enough in the Indian context. They have an alignment to the kind of capabilities that I and my team can bring to the table, which are technology, which are ability to scale big, which are understanding of consumer. Using a combination of these three, we scanned a number of different industries and built businesses in various areas. So we started in 2011, we started Big Basket. We promoted Big Basket because we felt there was an opportunity there. Then we promoted Bluestone, and then Portea in 2013, which is in the outside of hospital healthcare. And over the last, I would say about 12, 13 years, we have now created a dozen companies which span a number of different sectors where we felt there were opportunities. So some of the key learnings for me along this way have been that firstly, find an area which is big, which is impactful, which aligns with the capabilities that you bring in. But don't be afraid that you don't have the domain knowledge. I'm not an educationist. I'm not a medical expert. I'm not a grocery expert. I'm not a household interiors expert. But I can bring in a fresh perspective to these industries because of my other capabilities. And I will indeed join hands right up front with very strong people from that domain so that we are able to understand the domain, but come in and with a different perspective and a different disruptive perspective. So disruption of the domain is something which is very important. The second learning is that having a very strong team upfront is important. If you're setting up to do something which is big, which is challenging, which is going to change the way businesses work, you need to invest both your time, money, right kind of people coming in together so that you can have a significant impact. And third, don't be afraid to change along the way. Things will change. Every company of mine has pivoted, starting from customer asset, which I started as an internet company to become a call center, to Tutor Vista, to every company along the way has pivoted in some form or the other, either very drastically or moderately or in a minute fashion. But change is permanent. Learn from the new generation, learn from your customer, and keep changing and evolving. Those are some of my learnings.
I think very well put together. And I think it ties back to what Meghna also said that don't be afraid to do what you don't know. Just be out there and figure out what needs to be done and focus on your strengths and get the collective strength of your team. So, Sabina, I have an interesting cliched question for you. I know for a fact that you would have answered it like 1,000 times already, right? But Yatra.com was at the top of the game, and then COVID struck, right? And the travel industry, we all know, was one of the worst hit industries, right? What did you do to sustain the business and the team? What kind of skills did you think come in handy? And, to help you create even a stronger version of Yatra.com, both from a business and the team perspective?
So we started Yatra in 2006, which is, 16 years ago. And from there on, from 3 of us, we grew to 50 to 100 to 3,000 in the end. And from selling only flight tickets, went to every product in travel, which means hotels, international air, holidays, you name it, railways, cabs. We did every product which comes under the purview, and very successfully listed ourselves in NASDAQ on December 16. So that was one of the biggest highs for us, which said that, yes, and this is on NASDAQ, so it's not the Indian IPO, which was extremely tough. It took us 2 years to get there, to list ourselves. And we were on the pinnacle, if I may say. We were there, one of the few companies who got it as done successful. Of course, from there on, we got funds where we expanded even further, expanded our reach further. We started all lines of business, which meant you have a B2C website, which is e-commerce, which you have. Then we are the largest player on the corporate side, the corporate travel company, which is Yatra for Business. We combined together for many players. We are the largest in India today. So started that. We started our B2B division. So we went to all 3 lines of business, 2 lines selling arms, not only depending on our website, went on our corporate, went on B2B also. And come, 20 March, where everything went into a lockdown. Initially we did not expect that it will cross more than 2 months or 3 months. And in our mind, we said, okay, by July or August, we'll be up as such. And I think almost every line of business thought that, everybody will be up. Is suddenly, I have been a travel professional for 30 years. I have never seen flights on ground or not a single aircraft taking off. From the 80s, we've been through, especially in the Indian scenario, we've been through, Kingfisher going down under. Then we saw Jet Airways shutting its door. So for us, those were those, things that we overcame, and we said, okay, let's start something else, because a lot of funds were, we lost a lot during those 2 periods. Of course, a lot of hitches where you have a slowdown. And so those were something that we took in our stride and were flexible enough, or enough you could forecast these things which were coming in through what is the loss, this is something that I don't think anybody realized what's going to hit us. And After 3 or 4 months, we realized we are in this for a long term. It's not going to be a short-term gain. So it's first 3 months was hopeful when you are, we say that we should be quick on our feet. What do you do? But everything was shut down. So there is nothing that you could even think of doing. What we did internally in those 3 or 4 months is, okay, we have an opportunity, we have a workforce. What we did was made sure that we actually made ourselves more efficient. So we looked at our productivity, we looked at our processes, we looked internally in-house. What is that we can do when the business opens up? You don't have these 3 months of luxury or 4 months of luxury where you can actually inward look. You're so far, focused at growing is that you don't take an inward look. So we took an inward look. And for 3 or 4 months, we occupied our workforce in changing every process that we had, automation. We spoke to our clients and we said, okay, this is the new processes that we are going to go under, kept our customers engaged as to new things. Now, we also realized that our partners like our corporates and our hotels are also, maybe the hotels, there are loads of hotels in a smaller city who have no access to, facilities or no access. So we made sure that we built services to them also. We started doing new things. How do we keep, it's not only keeping your customers engaged, but keeping your service providers or your partners engaged, that yes, we are there for you. So assisted the corporates in sanitization, for example. You need to sanitize, you coming back to office. What do you need from us? So though we tied up for the bouquet of, all across India, we tied up with sanitization companies and we were providing these services completely, pushing our, they had access to, okay, we want this much of space to be sanitized. How do we? So there was a lot of hula about sanitization, if you understand, when I go through, even right now, I think it's a part of our life now, but that time it was still building in. Then we also went on Zoom calls with our service providers, which is our partners, airlines, hotels, cab vendors, and went to every corporate customer who's a large customer that what is travel going to look in again. So we were engaging both partners and anything. Mm-hmm. But we realized that, this is our volumes, what we had is not going to come back. I mean, right now, touch wood, just to, break the chain, it is coming back. But at that time we said, okay, we are in by July, August, we realized that, you're in maybe June, July, you realize this is a long-term, issue which is going to be there with us. So volumes that we were looking at may not come back very soon. So what is new things that we can do? What is another service that we can get into? So Yatra for freight, I mean, it's something that we started off. We started off new lines of business. So flexibility and agility, like what she mentioned earlier, the panelists before me, you were quick on your feet. What do we do next? We can't just sit back and pray that the volumes are going to come back, but we need to occupy ourselves. We need to start new lines of business. So we started Yatra for Freight. This is also related more to travel, but something new that we as, we are all travel professionals, something that we hadn't done. So we went into a new product, took a risk. Yes, of course, kept a team who understands, like, the panelists before me mentioned, that you always are agile. There's mental agility. You cannot sit back and think that this is what I do right now, and after 2 years, it still be valid for the business. It still be valid for the audience. So you have to keep evolving yourself. So that's what we did, added a new product on Yatra for Business. And then we looked at doing business in a new way. And I think that, kept our customers engaged, kept us engaged. And when we look back now, volumes are coming back. We are more stronger now. We understand, we've taken inward look, we've taken outward look, added new products to ourselves, and actually kept changing the model. Okay, we became a SaaS. So there is a platform that we built. Now we're taking that platform out. So kept new things online, what are more relevant to the market. And I think this time actually was, I don't think it should come in again, but actually made us look internally. What new things, what is the agility in our mind that what is the thing that we can, take to our customer again. And I think we've bought through the whole thing. And if I say today, what made us survive, it is our team, which was there, which was so important, which stuck by us. It's our customers who stuck by us. And we ourselves kept evolving into new things. So they kept thinking, oh, what are you going to do again? What are you, oh, this is a new way of doing business. Even internally, okay, even our employees, okay, this is a new process that we are doing. What is that, doing?
Understood.
A new way of doing things. So it's always agility of the mind is extremely important, and strength is what I feel.
Absolutely.
Strength we're doing a startup again. So strength is something that you need to keep in your mind. That backbone has to be very, very strong. You will have dips up and down. So that's my take on. the last.
Thank you so much. And thank you very well. Thank you so much, Sabina. I absolutely agree with you that agility and reinventing yourself and figuring out, how do you pivot to make it, to turn the adversity into
Yes.
advantage, right? That is what they call it, to kind
Yes.
of get ahead in life. So Ankiti, I am super impressed with what you do, right? And what you brought to the table, by using the technology to create a level playing field for all the businesses, right? The short businesses, small term businesses, or whatsoever, using the digital part, using the working capital of economies of scale so that they can go fast and grow global, right? And you started at a very young age of 23, right? So what drove you towards the idea, and what made you think that this is what you want to do and this is where it would be? And what were the lesson of success that you would like to give to other people here?
Hi, Karishma. Thank you for having me here. I think just to give a little bit of context to everyone, what we do is essentially it's a platform for fashion and textile brands and businesses to source directly from factories, and those factories to source directly from fabric providers, cutting out agents, using our SaaS platform and using our platform for sourcing, creating transparency in the supply chain. As you all know, fashion and textiles is one of the most undigitized culprit of a lot of malpractices. We can never be sure whether what we are wearing actually came from where we think it came from, whether a little child in a factory made it in, or were proper labor conditions there, is the fabric actually what it claims to be, and so on. And of course, those problems can only be solved with technology, and textile industry has historically been one of the most backward ones. I think when we started, and it really, it might sound like repetitive, but it really does follow what Meena and Sabina said earlier, that we saw a large problem. We saw a very large problem, right? It's a $3 trillion industry. Everybody wears clothes. People continue to wear clothes in different, market conditions, whether there's war or there's peace or there's, climate change or there is a pandemic. But of course, the way they consume it changes, whether it's a priority or not. It shifts a lot. So I think we saw a large opportunity when we started. We saw a large opportunity that could be improved a lot, and a lot of efficiencies could be created with the use of technology. So fundamentally, something that could scale fast and scale well using technology rather than sort of do it laboriously. And it was something that people would pay for, businesses would pay for, because they would make money because of you, right? So we fundamentally believe that nobody's going to pay you anything if they don't use you to make more money, because that's why businesses exist. So we found that those 2-3 things were true. We took a slightly different approach, especially in the last couple of years, than a lot of other B2B commerce players, wherein we only focus on actually not super long tail, but like medium-sized businesses and above, those who have proper credit scores and can access financing. We help in doing all of that. But during this entire journey, I think to answer your question more directly, Karishma, we saw the big opportunity. We saw that it could be solved with tech. There were a lot of challenges. I think COVID, similar to the travel industry, was terrible for the fashion industry as well, right? It was not an essential service for the first few months in most countries. Unlike food and medical services, or even FMCG, which all sort of can broadly be categorized as essentials, clothing was not. In fact, when the first quarter, I remember when COVID came, our revenues fell 70%. And then, of course, they recovered. And today we're like 35-40% ahead of our pre-pandemic scale. But we had to make very tough decisions, right? One was we saw that there would be a systemic shift of where the consumer was going to buy from more from offline to online. So our customers had to be more the online guys, the direct to consumer brands, and so on and so forth. So we had to make I would say we had to do a lot of surgery on the company. We had to learn how to serve people that would be selling on Shopify in the future. And this is obviously like directional marketplaces and so on and so forth, rather than in the stores. And everybody was not the same. We had to make tough decisions in terms of which businesses to serve, and learn and grow a lot. And I think that really comes down to, and I know Meena made this point earlier, but it was very true for us as well, which was that we were doing things where we obviously didn't have domain knowledge. You've built a company, you've built it in digitizing the supply chain for textiles. Now COVID has happened. You have to make surgical cuts, but we don't have domain expertise, but doesn't mean we say we can't do it. We find the experts and you have to do it. And sometimes, it's important not to be scared of pivots, because not doing anything can be the worst decision that you can make. And that obviously, that kind of business pivot or that kind of business growth or financial pivot or financial growth cannot come with personal growth and personal pivot as well. So you can't be scared of all of that. And to add to that point, I think the other thing is technology is changing things so fast around us, right? Like today we're talking about RFIDs and sensors in the supply chain, blockchain in the supply chain, and so obviously going to keep advancing very fast. If any one of us doesn't wake up in the morning with a personal growth mindset, we will get left behind. There are no real experts for a very long time unless we all keep learning every day. So I think that has been the biggest learning, that you have to constantly keep learning. Otherwise, and pivoting and forcing yourself to grow, and there's nothing wrong with that. So be the sponge and absorb what's going on around you and try to make the best decisions for your business. I think that was sort of the key learning, and it comes.
Thank you, Ankiti. Sorry to interrupt you in the interest of time, right? So I think very valid points. We'll come back to you to kind of talk about what else happened. But Anna, hi. Would you've been like amazing in turning around startups. You coach businesses, you make startups into unicorn. And while doing all that, you're also a TEDx speaker, a board member, and you have a whole lot of other credentials, very impressive credentials along with you. What challenges do you come across when you are mentoring people, especially? And, if you could add the whole gender part to it or the diversity part to it also, on how you deal with people and how do you make people more successful by, what skills do you feel come in handy when you're working towards making others successful?
Thank you. And pleasure to be here amongst all of you esteemed founders and leaders. I sure have not, been successful most of the time, but more failures than not. But what I've witnessed in terms of the commonalities and the challenges have been surrounding around people, process, and technology. But when you really look to layer and double click on what people, it's around leadership, soft skills versus hard skills. Coming from San Francisco, where I had a privilege of being part of 4 startups and primarily pioneering team at the early stage, and some of them actually came out very with glowing returns, and we got acquired, great exits, some fail miserably. And the experience is really surrounding around soft skills. Most of the Bay Area startups have been primarily deep tech. And that's 20 years of my career has been in that space as well. And when you look at the founders being very engineer-led in Silicon Valley and non-sales background, and in terms of building a startup, initially, it's always, for the first 10 million ARR, you have to really be founders-led. And how do you actually work with your team to close the first significant deals to find product market fit? And that's where you see a lot of the challenges. And now with, the digital first environment, we're having all Zoom fatigues. I think managing human behavior over a screen. I think human behavior has become so much more complex to manage over the last few years. And a different generation, and how do we speak with a love language or a certain language that actually matters and develops more meaningful and purpose-driven goals and objectives. The other one is really around, having been based in Asia for a number of years, the buy versus build mentality is very services-oriented continent, I would say, versus the West. So there would be always a complexity convincing around Asian tech buyers on how to buy and automate more versus build. And it's been a very complex conversation. If you don't have those conversations, your sales cycles can drag on and on. So these are just examples around, and then the founders, we have serious mental health issues. I mean, let's face it, yes. It's a very lonely cake up there, and we don't have enough of a network to rely on. And most of the time, it's always us seeking for help. It's never the other way around. No one asks us, how do we feel? No one asks us, how are you? 99% of the time, we oftentimes have to do our own, self-preservation. So the resilience and grit is almost innate in us as founders and entrepreneurs, minus the gender bias. But I mean, just having that grit and that resilience and backbone, like Sabina and the others have already talked about. So those are my examples. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much. I think very insightful and very well said, right? If we don't do it, then we might all get into issues. And obviously, I'm sure, especially for me, and I'm sure for everyone, coaching a team member, also, it's not just about the diverse background they come for, but also the diverse mindsets, right? And where they are in the place of life. So very beautifully said. We have just about 10 minutes, and I would love to talk to you all and listen to your stories. But I just wanted to talk about in the topic of today, which is, how do we shape up the better tomorrow? In 2 lines, what is it that you are doing to make the world better for the women of today, right? So, or the women of tomorrow, what is the legacy that we feel we are leaving behind? So do you want to go, Anna? Since you're talking to you, do you want to start? Yeah.
Great. So, in terms of, I've always tried to look at merit and how to actually develop a more equalized environment, not based on male or female, but obviously in tech, there's a huge shortage of females in STEM. And this is where we're building networks, evangelizing, mentoring, serving communities of schools. I've always been part of a number of nonprofits, startup ecosystems, accelerator programs, really mentoring these early startup founders to raise awareness around the failures and the complexity of entrepreneurial journeys. It's not so easy, but the fact is quitting is easier.
Yes, so, I agree.
There's so many war stories and challenges around, how we grow, scale. Firing people is one of a different muscle that you have to, overcome. And most of the time, we never learn how to fire people. Hiring is easy, so. War stories that we talk about, firing founders, restructuring companies. So I'm sure there's so much, many conversations that we can have around that. But it is really around building communities and mentoring the kids and the next generation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Meghna, how about you?
Yeah, so and what Crediwatch essentially does is we provide AI-powered insights to fuel access and of capital and growth to businesses of all shapes and sizes. So our mission is to help the 60 million businesses in India to, which contribute a really large part to our GDP, and to, enable them and empower them to be and to help their growth, right? That's what Crediwatch does in terms of what we're trying to do, our larger picture. In terms of how we are as a company, for us, gender and diversity are really important issues. We really strive to ensure that, especially women in tech, right? There's only 10-15% of them at the top levels, whereas we have 44% of engineering graduates who are women in India, right? Which is one of the largest workforce of engineers in the world. So personally, for us at Crediwatch, to ensure that we provide a really good environment to promote 50-50, that's kind of where we're striving to be in terms of representation of men and women. And especially what we've discovered is to get women who are really good, who kind of quit because they decide to go the family way, to get them back in the workforce. We've been very successful in doing that. Women who've taken 10 to 15 years, break, right now they're leading teams doing cutting edge ML and AI. And this is kind of what we want to do, and this is where we want to be. And in terms of, for entrepreneurs, of what I would want to support them and what our mission is to be able to help other female entrepreneurs is, don't be afraid. It's okay to take a contrarian view, be bold, and, most of the time believe in yourself, because your decisions are the right decisions. So that's kind of what we want to do. We have a group of a lot of female entrepreneurs. We talk to each other every day. So one of the things we're trying to do is support each other, because it's very lonely out there, as somebody said. So these are the 3 different goals that are very, very important to me.
Thank you so much. And very well said, right? That support each other, because it is lonely out there. Ankiti, I know, I'm sure you would have great ideas of what you're doing for tomorrow. And what is it that, you would like to give a message on how we can help shape a better tomorrow?
I think I'll keep it brief. Two things in addition to all the great ideas here for young or not young by age, but early stage women is coaching and capital. I think men have frameworks for that. It's a different way of saying the some of the points that were brought up. But coaching to actually go from C to A to B, B to C, it takes a lot to build the company, and community is a part of that. And capital, right? We need to give women money to grow, to fail, to pivot, and so on and so forth. So I think those are the two things that I feel very passionately about.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ankiti. Over to you, Meena.
Yeah. So I have, I guess, wherever I have the influence, whether it is in the startups that I have or the boards that I sit on, I try and ensure that right there and then I'm able to support the diversity, support the right talent, and also go out of my way to mentor women. Apart from that, of course, being part of the ecosystem, all the things that the other ladies spoke about. But apart from that, there's my foundation, charitable foundation. I have started a program which is about creating entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs in the rural areas in the area of healthcare. So using the work that we have done in Portea, understanding what is it that is really required in the healthcare space in the various, in all the nooks and crannies of the country, creating an entrepreneur model and helping women become self-sufficient in their own communities without having to step away from their families and their homes, but also improving the health outcome of their community. So that's a program that we are calling it Community Health Entrepreneurs. And we have started pilots. About 100 such women are being trained at various parts of the country. So that's doubling down and giving back is where I'm focused.
Thank you very much, Meena. Back to you, Sabina. What is it that you are doing to leave a better tomorrow?
Different things. One is on a personal aspect. I participate with Niti Aayog. I partner with them on certain things, and also with Startup India. So I have been taking women sessions. They've been getting women to Delhi or to Mumbai from various rural areas, and maybe getting them and putting them up in Delhi and to have access to all of us. I make sure that I dedicated a big substantial amount of my time into those sessions where we mentor them, where can they look at funding, what is their idea. And it's not just 10-minute session, it's 1 hour session with almost every founder or every woman who has a new idea, guide her to the relevance of where she can get funding from, or what is the market, how does she go around, is that the idea is there, but is that market there for her, is there a market for that idea? So even discussing that. So that's what I do. Then on the personal front, I also mentor 3 startups, 3 women-led startups, engage with them a lot and participate in their deals and all their ideas. So there are 3 startups led by women that I'm mentoring. Also on the official front, which is Yatra, what we try and do is keep all our positions open for women or men. That is something so important in today's side. We should not think that, okay, a woman can't do sales or a woman can't do business development. And women in technology is a conversation that I think we see more and more women come. Yes, they're very few in number, but we need to encourage them more and more. And also there comes a stage in their lives where they leave for another company. I'm good with it. But when they leave for personal reasons, or they're going to sit at home, I make sure that on a personal level, I do go and meet up with them, try and, make them go through it. And why are they doing that? What is the issue which is happening at home? So there is a bond that you need to develop with them, encourage them, and also relate to your own stories, because I think all of us go through it in some way or the other in different versions of it. So try and relate with them on the stories that I have of my own personal life and relate with them. So try and mentor them. But yes, sometimes you succeed and sometimes you don't succeed but I don't give it up. Sometimes I feel disappointed that, when they don't listen and, why? This is a very small thing. Don't give up your career for it. Or even if you are doing it, come back. And I keep in touch with them. And in case you're coming back, your position is still open. So go with that confidence. But at the first stage, try and stop them from leaving. So both the sides I'm working, both on personal level and from the corporate side.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, everyone. I think we're at the top of the hour, but I would just like to call out one thing that with all the things that we have talked about, from pivoting to being strong to bringing your skill to the table and setting up the right team, I think it's been phenomenal conversations. I hope that everybody who's watched this have gotten a lot of ideas and a lot of strength in how do they shape a better tomorrow. So thank you, everyone. And over to you, Mithun. Back to you.
Thank you so very much, Karishma. Indeed, that was very, very interesting. What perception from all our great leaders. I want to thank Meghna, Suryakumar, Ankiti, Bose, Anna, Gong, Sabina, Chopra, and of course, Meena, Ganesh for being perfect in terms of putting out your thought. And Karishma, as always, you are one of the best moderators that we see.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
So much. I like that.
I want to wish you all a great day. And to Ankiti and Anna, I think you're early into the afternoon already in Singapore. So wish you a great lunching time as well. And we connect very soon. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All
Have
right.
a good one, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
So much more is awaiting for all of us here. We're just into the about 1/4 of the entire summit. But quickly, I want to remind you that there's a quiz happening at the Accenture booth. And if you want to win something, I think it's time that you do visit the booth anytime and win something. Also, if you have any questions, queries, feel free to reach out to them because they are here to help. A big thank you to our partners once again. Presenting partner Accenture, powered by Adobe. Platinum partner AWS, gold partner Vertiv, associate partners Checkpoint, and Fiserv media partner Times Tech In, our knowledge partner Insights, and brought to you by Unwired. And now let's see what is up next. Up next, we get into the top priorities by CMOs. Rebuilding the marketing engine for flexibility in a changing environment. That's exactly what's up next.